What's going on, kind people? Lee Sanders here from the RCWR show, covering the latest in wrestling entertainment and beyond since 2011. You are getting ready to hear a collaboration effort between myself and my friend, my brother-in-arms, Anthony Missionary Thomas of Wrestling Soup, as we sit down to talk to the one, the only, Mr. David McLane, owner and founder of the WOW Women of Wrestling promotion. You know they are back for a new season on Access TV, Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. Not sure if you have Access TV. Find out. Hop on the Access TV website, or you can see if maybe you might be lucky on the WOW website. Go to WOWE.com. That's WOWE.com. Really fun, insightful conversation with David McLane. Was tremendously a huge honor to sit down and talk with the man. Without any further ado, enjoy this David McLane interview on WOW Women of Wrestling and so much more. Get at me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the keywords the RCWR show. Much love, and until next go round, be safe and be kind to one another. Enjoy the interview, folks.
First off, let me just say, it's amazing to actually have the opportunity to talk to you. I mean, you're kind of an icon in the wrestling industry for a lot of us who have remembered Glow and remembered WOW in the earlier days. And the fact that you've spanned over 4 generations is just amazing. It's 4 decades, I'm sorry. It is absolutely amazing. And I just want to say thank you for all your hard work over the years and all the entertainment that you've provided us growing up. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm lucky to still be doing it.
I got to ask right off the bat, when it came to this rendition of WOW, coming back to it, what was the driving inspiration to do it one more time?
The right business partner. Jeannie Bus and I, Jeannie, of course, was not involved in Glow, and I always had a vision and a dream how to do women's professional wrestling. And through a maze of weaving hurdles, thresholds, losses, bad business partners, you name it, it's been a long journey. And I said I would never do it again unless I had the right partner who shared the same exact long-term vision. And Jeannie and I met through one of my ESPN ventures that I started after I had sold Glow, actually. And so we've been friends for over 30 years. She participated by coming to one of the WOW Live events at the Great Western Forum, which, she was the president of at the time, and her family owned it, and the Lakers were there, and I officed there, and we started it. And the second she saw it, she got it instantly. Yeah. And she was the one that actually coined the name. They're the WOW superheroes. Jeannie grew up as a huge fan of comic books as a kid. And she literally, at the age, I think it was 9, her mom dropped her off at the San Diego Comic-Con, can you imagine, by herself, and let her into the big Comic-Con, which at the time wasn't that big. It was actually hosted in a downtown hotel, I think the Hotel Cortez or something. And so she went in there like with a kid with wide open eyes and saw the comic books and fell in love with Supergirl and Wonder Woman and the stories they told. And when she came and watched WOW, she instantly got it the second she saw Terry Gold or Jungle Girl jump off the third ropes, that these are empowered women superheroes come to life. Sure. And she quickly realized, damn, if I had this when I was 9 years old, I'd been all over it. So she shared the vision, and we knew it was going to be a tough haul to put women's wrestling back on the map, because television is flooded with wrestling. Yes. Flooded. And subsequently, there wasn't any appetite for it, and we were still at the time facing backlash and or negative thoughts that it could be less than athletic.
Really?
And yeah, because you got to remember that WWE hadn't even swung its pendulum 3 years ago.
Right.
I mean, maybe 2.5 years ago, their pendulum swung. And so subsequently, we were way ahead of our time in the positioning of WOW. and the vision we had for it compared to what was in the marketplace.
Absolutely.
With pillow matches and jello matches,
Right.
and
Right.
and women being eye candy and accessories to the men wrestling. So, I mean, even our world champion, Tessa Blanchard, when she started, she's even seen the shift in just a short period of time for 2 years. So everyone thinks there was an evolution and a revolution. There wasn't for us, and it has been a combination of WWE switching their pendulum to even, you got to give a big credit to Ronda Rousey going into MMA and all the publicity she got that put a new light on it. So, yes, there was pushback, and today there isn't. If I go anywhere today and say to a television executive, we're promoting women's wrestling, there's no more smirk. There's no more look, oh boy, you're kidding me. It's taken 30 some years to get there.
Yeah.
Change is slow.
Let me ask you this real quick, just to piggyback off of that. How hard was it for WOW, and for you especially, to try and distance, WOW from like apartment wrestling?
It's not hard in my mind because I never gave it a thought.
Okay.
I may have given it a thought in the 80s when we started wrestling, because Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Inside Wrestling, all the wrestling magazines that were being sold at the local grocery stores back then, I think usually had an ad for it in their magazines. So maybe then, but not in 30 years, no.
Yeah, David, I want to ask you, just piggybacking off of that, you recently had said in an interview how the upcoming season of WOW, you noticed there was more women in attendance along with children, something you don't really see in a lot of promotions these days, unless maybe it's something like WWE. And it's funny that we're sitting here talking about this today because me and Mish, we recently had watched an AEW pay-per-view, which was a solid pay-per-view. But the trend we've noticed with most of their pay-per-views is, as far as the demographics goes, it's mostly males, maybe 25 to 44, mostly in attendance, barely any females. And if there were kids, we wouldn't know. Some would say they and other promotions are geared towards the millennials. But I want to ask you, from all you've seen over the years, do you think wrestling as a whole will go back to tapping every age and demo? Because it seems these days, the current climate, it's mostly about the obscene and extreme.
Well, I can't speak to how the other promotions plan to market their product.
Right.
But I can tell you this, respectful of WOW, when we were speaking to various outlets and media outlets for it, they asked us to change how it was presented. And I said, no, we're not going to change. So you're going to change how you look at viewers to watch WOW, or we won't be on your network, because we weren't going to change the idea of Jeannie Bus and myself that you could go to something with your parents and fall in love with it. Or you couldn't be a kid and watch it. I fell in love with wrestling when I was a kid. Jeannie fell in love with comic books when she was a kid. A lot of us, like yourselves, that grew up loving wrestling, we got introduced to it as kids. And I don't think that's happening as much in today's marketplace with the product I'm seeing out here. I know that they own the male demographic. They own it. And they've been looking for an alternative possibly to the more family-friendly WWE. But in terms of WOW, we had one direction. We stuck with it.
Right. And
we may have fallen flat on our face, but it seems the consumer likes what we're doing. And I did go out and do some marketing before we launched. And we took some events that we had done initially in Las Vegas, and we sat with some fans in various cities. We went to New York, Philadelphia, down to Florida, the Carolinas, and we knocked on doors. I didn't personally go to the houses, but I had a crew go. And they sat on the couch. They showed them the product. And we asked people, what do you want to see in a wrestling product? And we had parents sitting there with the kids, and we heard from not only the moms but also the dads. They said, "Wish I could have something I could watch again with my kids." Biggest pleasures I've received from social media is, I can't tell you. We literally print some of them out. I couldn't believe them. Parents, there's a huge divorce rate, I guess, in the United States. Divorce is a big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge. I couldn't believe. And parents, dads have said, "Hey, I've never had something to connect with my daughter. And now my daughter can come over when we were on Friday nights and watch WOW on Access TV, and she loves it, and so do I." And we've had so many dads tell us, "Hey, thanks. You've given me something to do with my daughter." And on the other hand, I've had letters, and I'm not talking 1, 2, 3. I'm talking across the board with dads that are stepdads.
Right.
And they said, "Hey, I've never had anything to do with my stepdaughter. It's been hard to, connect with her, and we've connected over WOW." I mean, those are some of the greatest social media messages I've read in the last year.
What are some of the biggest adversities or trials that you faced from yesterday versus today?
Well, the first being acceptance. And as we mentioned, Ronda Rousey, we mentioned WWE finally getting away from pillow matches,
right?
And in trying to improve their product. So acceptance, overall acceptance has been the biggest hurdle. The second is exposure, and that comes in two forms. When Glow was on in the 80s, you got to remember there was only, well, let's just include Fox because it was just starting.
Right.
That was after I had sold Glow, actually. But there was only 4 stations when you went home to watch TV, and maybe one UHF channel. So that's how come that brand, that name became so known so quickly, because it was on in over 80% of the country.
Right.
And you came home on a weekend and there's not much to watch. Today, there's 1,000 channels to watch on Dish, DirecTV, Fios, all these different cable stations. So that's a big change in the marketplace, and hurdle exposure. There's more competition today to grab an eyeball. So someone that's a casual viewer may not watch. And that's another thing. We've gotten notes from people that say they're not that big of a wrestling fan, but they've watched WOW and love it.
Yes.
So I think we're tapping into a wider audience. Access TV gave us a renewal that was unheard of. They had never before renewed any broadcast in its 17-year history, over 6 or 8 episodes. And they gave us over 24 episodes.
They love you.
Wow. Their goal when we started, they said, "We just hope you can sustain the audience that we have from New Japan Wrestling." That was their goal.
Right.
And we doubled the viewership, doubled it.
That's amazing.
One of the highest rated debuting shows ever. And they kept wondering, well, maybe it's just happening because it's new. And we sustained that for the entire run of the first season.
Wow. That's awesome. That is great to hear. Speaking of WOW, I saw you all had made headlines a couple of days ago as you all were out in LA for a taping, and you all presented Jeannie Bus with her own commemorative championship. That was an awesome experience to see there. Was she surprised by that? Did she have any idea something was going on there?
Totally surprised. The CEO of Access TV, thank heavens for him, Andrew Simon, without me prompting him, he went up to the box where Jeannie Bus sits to watch the matches, and he grabbed her and said, "You got to come to the ring. You got to come to the ring." And she says, "I'm not getting in the ring. What are you doing? Let him start the show." And he says, No, David wants to see you. He wants to see you. And she goes, "I'm not going down there." He literally had to grab her, and she had zero clue. And they didn't show it on the little clip within there, but as she stepped up on the ring steps to come in and I grabbed her hand, she looked right at me and said, I'm going to kill you. And so she had no clue what was happening. She did not know there was a belt there. She had zero clue, and we had zero clue that the fans were going to be so receptive and saying, "Thank you, Jeannie." And everyone owes a bit of respect for her, because I really believe without her getting behind women's wrestling, you would not see. You could have seen, because the support was there on social media, but her name and her getting behind WOW helped shift the pendulum tremendously for women's wrestling. There's zero doubt in my mind on that.
You know, David, one thing that me and Mish have continued to hear from fans throughout social media, forums and whatnot, since the great season you all had on Access TV a couple of months back is, man, where can I get in on some of this action? When are these guys going to go on tour? We were talking with Selena Majors about this, and she said she really didn't want to put anything out there. So we ask you now, any plans? I know you can't announce anything like here on the show, obviously, but is there at least things set in motion where there is some serious discussion about maybe taking the WOW roster, at least on a limited city tour?
Yep.
And part two to that, one thing I've also been getting asked is, hey, what's up with maybe seeing something of a WOW app, kind of like insert whatever your favorite wrestling promotion is. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, I'll answer the second question quickly. WOW app is in process, and we're building it out with a major company that's engaged in one of the big four sports leagues. And
awesome.
It's going to make a lot more content accessible to more people worldwide.
Fantastic.
And I'll come back to that in a moment. On touring, that's the goal, one of the goals of Jeannie Bus. She and I both come out of the arena business, and we'd love to see it. But vis-a-vis that, and me growing up in wrestling, it would be way too premature to go out into the marketplace today with WOW. It really would. Access TV, they're the right partner for us because they took their time in growing New Japan Wrestling.
Right.
And they had it on air, I guess, for a year and a half, 2 years. And then finally New Japan Wrestling came here and had an event in Long Beach, California that sold out. And I think if they jumped the gun on that, they would not have been as successful. So I think you've got to lay the groundwork, the foundation. My hat goes off to AEW, who's had such great success, having live events with great attendance so far.
Sure.
But for us, we're small. We're still David on the block, not Goliath, no pun intended. And we've got to do it strategically and slowly to grow the brand and bring it out correctly. So, yes, we're in conversations. In fact, we had 2 offers from big, the biggest company in the country that does tours to take WOW out. They had advances already given to us
Fantastic.
to do a tour, and we returned the money, though. Jeannie and I said, listen, we don't want to go out and have you sustain some losses, especially if you don't have the right vision with us. And our vision is, this is an expensive tour.
Right.
And you've got to have a long-term thinking that, hey, you got to return to the market if you want to be successful. So we're not going to do anything just to go out and do it. We're going to do it methodically, just like Access TV did when they launched New Japan Wrestling. Speaking of that, tomorrow, tomorrow,
the big day,
Saturday night, 9 hours of WOW. It's a WOW telethon on Access TV Saturday, September 7th, starting at 12 Eastern, rolling right into the debut at 8 p.m. Eastern, the WOW Season 2 debut. Tessa Blanchard, the world champion. Last year, Tessa came to WOW looking to get the championship. Now she has the championship, and she's got a target on her back.
Absolutely.
And Jungle Girl, 20-year veteran of WOW, Havoc, who everyone sees on Impact Wrestling, Havoc. She's in the ring. And the phenom of professional wrestling, the Beast.
Yes.
And they are all gunning for Tessa Blanchard. And you will see that all kicking off at 8 p.m. Eastern after 8 previous hours of it all day on Saturday on Access TV.
Absolutely.
So it's a wow day on Saturday.
We are looking forward to it. We are definitely looking forward to the season 2 debut. One of the other questions, well, first off, let me make a comment. When you do a tour, please make sure you stop by Chicago. We love you here.
Well, that's like home to me because I grew up in Indianapolis. Dick the Bruiser was my mentor.
Yes.
And we would drive up there to the amphitheater to see the Blackjacks, Bobby Heenan, Baron von Raschke, Ernie Ladd, Vern Gagne, the Crusher, Dick the Bruiser.
Excellent.
And that in Hammond, Indiana. Those are our stops. We got to go there.
That's amazing. But I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a praise on this though too. You know, it's interesting when a lot of people watch wrestling promotions even today. They kind of stick to the same production format, and it's usually, you know, like just a curtain and a couple of lights and then just like a gymnasium and a ring. I really have to applaud the big show feel that you and Jeannie and everybody else there do in order to promote WOW better. Like the actual production feels like it feels like one of the top competitors of wrestling. I mean, you really don't pull any stops. The lighting, the production, the vignettes, everything is so tight and so well produced. You would think that this show has been running for 20 years and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. It's so refined. How did you guys get to that point of making or at least understanding that WOW needed to have this crisp edge to it?
Well, several factors always go into a blender. And one was the fact that we knew, again, we weren't going to be big enough to go into an arena. We're just not. Anyone that would do it would be foolish, and we didn't want to be foolish. Secondly, we knew all the promotions either go into a big arena and face the challenges of that production circumstance, or, you know, the independents, obviously, which are booming across the country, are in smaller armories, National Guard armories, lodges, etc.
Right.
So we knew we couldn't go. We knew we weren't going to do that, and we knew we couldn't go in a big arena because it would be foolish to consider such. So we looked for the right venue, which would help accommodate a look, an aesthetic that we wanted to present, and we found it in Los Angeles in the Belasco Theater. And it's not typically an event. I had to go meet with the building and speak to the owners, and they said, this isn't really set up for this, but we said we can make it work. And
it's amazing.
It does work. Now, we were asked, not by Access TV, by the way, but by other networks we were in conversations with. They wanted us to go to the arena look before they would agree to air it. And they said, we don't like this look. It looks too small. You're not in a big arena. And again, we stuck to our guns and said, no, it's new, it's fresh, it's perfect for us to start out in, and it has the theatrical lighting and presentation that we want to use for WOW. WOW should be different than everyone else, and WOW should be big. WOW should be a big feel. It's not really big. It's still small and growing. It should have a big feel and have a big production feel that's bright, colorful, and fun.
Yes.
I mentioned earlier when we went out and met with fans across the country, there was one word that came back from almost every family we met with. And the word, I kept looking at the paperwork. I was switching the papers on the table, reading these results. The word was everybody wanted to see the fun, F-U-N, put back into professional wrestling.
Very nice.
And I think WOW does that. I think we deliver it.
Absolutely.
Now, David, you're from Indianapolis. I got to ask you, because I'm a football guy. Mish is a football guy, too, although I don't think Mish is doing too good right now because his Bears didn't look too good yesterday against the Packers. Sorry, Mish. But, hey, at least your kicker is good. At least you got a good kicker.
David, what was it like hearing from friends and family in Indianapolis about Andrew Luck, that whole fiasco? Because like as soon as that went down, one of the first things that clicked in my mind was, wow, because we were supposed to talk with you last week, but things didn't work out. So that's kind of cool because we've had a little bit more time to marinate on it. What's the buzz been like from your home city there, the home state?
The immediate feeling was big disappointment. And even as you heard from the booth, anger was the immediate resentment. I think that was because Andrew Luck's announcement that he was retiring was leaked to the live audience at the arena at the venue.
Oh,
and
wow.
Secondly, he himself had not had the opportunity to speak to the public before that announcement. I believe if he could have, the response would have been much different. And I think there's no animosity, but now love for him. You got to respect a guy that's in his 30s who looks at his life, he looks at his career, and he says to himself, hey, I've been facing injury for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I got a wife, a baby on the way, and there's more to life than football. And he did it, and he put his body where his mouth was and not where his money was. And you got to respect that from a guy. He can always come back, and he can always come into coaching, and he can always continue to help kids at his training camps and his events he does in the summer with Peyton Manning. So you got to have respect for the guy that he had the guts to stand up and say the body can't take it. I've seen too many professional wrestlers that don't have that mindset. Maybe they don't have the economic wherewithal to make a decision like he did, and they stay in the wrestling game too long, and they're at 50 years old, they're at 60 years old, and they can hardly move their bodies. Their hips are gone, their wrists are gone, their elbows are on painkillers. Yeah. And it's a terrible tragedy of sports. And I was personal friends with Eric Dickerson when he played with the Colts, and he and I would go out a lot.
I loved Eric Dickerson.
Eric Dickerson was booed by the Indianapolis Colts fans and always chastised for not going out there and playing on Sunday. He claimed he had an injury. He did. He had a pulled hamstring, a tremendously painful groin injury. And he would tell me, hey, they want to shoot me up just like the Gale Sayers Brian song with a needle. And he says, no one's going to be putting a needle in me. I'm not anybody's animal to go out and entertain on Sunday. He goes, I got to think about where I'm going to be when I'm 50 years old walking.
Right.
And there was a guy that was in the prime of his career, breaking records. And he had the brains, the wherewithal, and the guts to say, no, I'm not going to go out and play injured. You're not going to shoot or numb my leg up. And I'm going to rest it properly because I'm not going to be in a wheelchair when I'm 60 years old. And no one knew that story. No one knew it. And he got chastised for it. So I applaud Andrew Luck for having a vision bigger than just football.
But I definitely want to reiterate once again, Access Television. Wow, Season 2 starting with the marathon at 12 p.m. Eastern and the debut episode at 8 p.m. Eastern. David McLane, it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to talk to you, sir.
Well, thank you, guys. Without your help, we couldn't grow and succeed. But I do want to mention one thing because I know many of your listeners are wrestling historians. And Saturday night at 8 o'clock on Access TV, we talked about Eric Dickerson and you know, a great NFL Hall of Famer.
Yes.
The Hall of Famers of women's tag team wrestling are going to be honored. Mae Young, Ella Wadrick, Tony Rose, Donna Christatello, Joyce Grable, Vicki Williams, Wendy Richter, Leilani Kai,
wow,
Velvet McIntyre. We're doing an honor and a tribute feature to all those great wrestlers, all the way up to the Jumping Bomb Angels.
Wow.
Before the Wild Tag Team Tournament series kicks off tomorrow night on Access TV, or tonight if this is airing our interview on Saturday. But that said, it's going to be a great tribute to the greats of women's tag team wrestling. Thanks for helping us grow. Can't wait to talk to you guys at the end of the series to see what you thought.
Absolutely. And looking
Definitely.
forward to talking to you again. Thank you so much again. I hope you have a great day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. An Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive.